All right, we're here. One more Andre Galvao podcast. This is going to be our number 5. And I'm just here with my friend, Will the Bill. What's up, Will the Bill?
What's up?
Hey, don't be shy with the Bill.
I'm here. I'm ready. Let's talk, man.
We got to talk. Will, he started training with me in 2011, right? Right before I leave to ADCC 2011.
Yep. Right before you went to ADCC. And then you went to, that one was in
2011.
2011.
ADCC.
Yeah. Then you won double gold.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this is the place. I got to sign up here. This is where I want to train.
What about if I go there and lose? You decide.
I was going somewhere else.
Oh my God. Yes, but Will, actually, man, we made a deal. Like, I sold my car to you. Remember?
That's right. Yes.
You still have the car now?
No, I sold it.
Oh, you sold it?
I sold it. It was a great car, though.
Who's the third owner? Who's the guy?
CarMax.
CarMax.
CarMax is the new old owner. They don't know the value in that. That is
they
Andre
don't know,
Galvao's car.
Oh, if you go to CarMax right now and buy like a Kia
2013.
2013, man, it was mine.
But now I want
a black one.
Now I want your next car.
My next one right now, after this?
No, the one you have now.
I have a Cadillac.
You have an Escalade, right?
Yeah, it's
I'm waiting for that. I'm waiting for the hand-me-down.
Yeah, I told you. After that car, your car is like upgrade like many times.
every 3 years, I'll buy your car from you.
All right. So, Will, yes, man, like you came here in 2011, and this podcast, I do interviews with like different people. Of course, like I said, I always start with my students, right? And you're not training right now here at Atos HQ, but you train here for how long? Like 5-6 years?
No, I trained until 2017. Yeah, so 6 years.
6 years, yeah, 6 years you trained with us, yes.
Yep.
But you saw pretty much like the beginning of Atos, like
the evolution of Atos.
The evolution of Atos, evolution of Andre Galvao as a professor, as an athlete, I would like to see from your side, what did you see at Atos? I remember like we started in a small place, of course. Now we have a 7,000 square feet facility. We grew a lot, and I just want to remind, even myself, sometimes it's hard for me to remind, to put like those like crazy moments like that I had. Like sometimes I forget things, right? But of course, I know where it came from. I know where it came from. I know where we came from. And, just tell a little bit, like, what did you see, like back in the day and now what do you see now,
Man, back in the day it was crazy. So back in the day, there was, I would say, much less organization than there is now.
Yeah.
There was one class. It was all belts. It was white through black belts. I remember the first.
Kids together.
Kids, everybody, yeah. We had young kids. Yeah. And that was it. You just, you like to tell the story that when I was a blue belt when I came to Atos, and I wasn't very good.
Yeah, you suck.
I wasn't very good. I knew close guard and half guard.
Yeah.
Right? And then when I got there, the first technique I learned was the Berimbolo.
Yeah.
Bruno Frazado taught it.
Oh, really?
And I was like, what?
Yeah, we had those guys here. Yeah.
What the heck is this?
Yeah.
And so it was kind of just like getting thrown into the lines then, just learning trial by fire, getting out there. And that has its value, learning with people who are way better than you and just having to survive,
Yeah.
But then you got more organized. You started you had like a more of a curriculum. You started a white belt class. It was competition class, and then just kind of like
start
average Joes,
things,
And every time you won, I remember every time you won a major event, we would knock down a wall at the gym.
Yeah,
we would expand the gym.
Yeah,
there was a new area of the gym that would open up. So, you always reinvested. Every time you had you got to a milestone in your career, you put that money back into the gym.
Yeah.
And one thing that I always tell everybody that I think is amazing is that you were on the mats all the time.
Yeah.
I
still do it.
You're still there. Yeah. And I don't I remember one time you were in China, and then you had a flight back. You landed. How long was that trip?
Oh my God.
It's like 15, 20 hours, right?
Minimum, yeah.
You were on the mat the next day.
Yeah.
And at the 9 a.m. class. and then you went and you taught the 6 p.m. class. So like, that's one thing that I always tell everybody. Like, I don't know how you do it, man. Training, competing with the toughest guys in the world, and then always there for your students. So
it's crazy, yeah, man. Like I sometimes I stop and start thinking like how I get all this energy, you know, like because I don't sleep a lot, you know. I'm not that type of person that needs like 8 hours, 9 hours of sleep. You know, I can sleep like 5 hours and I feel amazing.
Really?
It doesn't matter like how much I train. It doesn't matter. I feel great. I just go and grind.
You just got lucky, man.
Yeah, I think like I have like, you know, some people they need a lot of sleep. Some other people they don't need much, and I feel like I don't need that much of sleep. You know.
But what about all the like stress you're putting on your body from training and lifting and traveling?
I don't feel like stress because
that's crazy.
Because I feel that I chose to do that. You know, just for the fact that I chose to do that, like it's no longer stress. You know, like I know I need to train really hard. Of course, like that was like times that I overtrained. You know, I was overtrained and I couldn't like rest well. Let's say, not say like sleep well, but rest well or feeling like hungry. You know, but I always had in my mind that I chose like all this, you know, and this gave me a relief, because if you choose to do something, of course it requires sacrifice, you know, in everything you do in life. If you want to grow, if you want to be better, it requires a lot of sacrifice.
Sure.
But knowing that I was choosing to do that, you know, it was an option. I started like feeling like blessed. I always feel blessed, you know, like I feel like, man, this is what I can do. This is my choices. Like I want to lift, I want to sleep, I want to train, I want to learn, I want to do like drills, I want to teach, you know, I want to like, I feel that I'm very, very blessed, and I never complain about anything, to be honest. I don't like to complain.
It's almost like it's a difference between someone going into a job, like a corporate job that they have to do. They may not, you know, love it, but they have to do it because they need money. You're saying you chose this path. So this was like something you get to do because you enjoy it.
Imagine like you choose to be an athlete, or you chose to be a fighter, or whatever you want to do in life. You chose to be like you chose your college or your university, whatever. You're a doctor, and then you go to the office and you're just like, oh, dang, I gotta go work.
Yeah.
But you chose that. Like for 4 or 5 years, 6 years, you studied that, and you chose to be that, you know? And then when you go to work, you just complain. You're just like, oh. Yeah. You know, like I think everyone needs to work. We have our work and we have our job, you know? Our job is just like what we do to make money, you know? But our work is the purpose of life, you know. I learned that, you know, and when both are combined, man, you go beyond. Like some people, their job is being a doctor, being maybe a doctor, like a physician. That's their job they chose, but their work is probably like make good things for people, you know, like their purpose, you know, like discover something, you know, or make people feel better. And a lot of people understand that, but the majority, I don't think they understand that, and they kind of like lost. They don't understand their purpose of life. So when I know my purpose of life is teaching, is helping people, is being on the mat, is transmitting like my knowledge, you know, the things that I pass in life, and also on the mat to my students, I feel amazing. Like it doesn't matter like if I got a plan for like 20 hours and I arrive, I feel like, oh, I gotta be there there's some people like waiting for me. Because if I just stay home and wait for me to rest, to be okay, to beat the jet lag in order to go back to the gym, I feel like I'm just thinking about me. You know, I'm not thinking about people who are there, you know? So I always had that, like, I really liked what I do. I love what I do.
Well, I think when you like what you do, it makes life so much more enjoyable. It makes your job easier because it's not actually like a job. You know, it's like you're doing what you love. Yeah. And that's why, you know, I credit jiu-jitsu for changing. I was on a trajectory to go into finance and have this corporate job, right? And I credit jiu-jitsu with kind of opening my mind to other possibilities. And now, my job is jiu-jitsu.
Crazy, huh?
Yeah. I started in...
Could you imagine that?
No, never.
Right?
Never in my life.
Yeah.
And it's all because of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. And it's crazy because I started jiu-jitsu when jiu-jitsu, let's say, back in the day, 1990s, middle 1990s, like 1995, 1994, 1996. So right after the first UFC, right? So I start training jiu-jitsu.
Was it because of the UFC?
Yeah, I watched
Wow.
Royce Gracie, and man, a lot of people start like back in the 90s. Like
Sure.
a lot of people start because they saw that, it was a big boom in martial arts. And like I always play soccer and all that, and then I saw a guy, Royce Gracie, is not a common name in Brazil, Royce, and I say, who's this guy? I thought he was from somewhere else, and then they like announce him as from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. I'm like, this guy is from Brazil, Rio de Janeiro, Gracie? What the heck is that? It's not a common name.
Really?
And then I start like understanding and I start learning, and then I was like, oh wow, and then I quit soccer and everything. I start training jiu-jitsu. And then, man, it was a life change. And back in the day, okay, you have the UFC. Like maybe you could think like, oh, I will train jiu-jitsu to maybe one day do like what Royce Gracie did.
Yeah.
Imagine, right? Like go and be really good and challenge some guys in the cage and then make like $60,000. I think that's what he made. Like
Is
maybe
it really?
like $40,000, something like that. It was like not even $100,000, I think. And that was the hope in jiu-jitsu. No media, no nothing. Like, no-gi brands.
Yeah.
There was like one gi brand that was called like Krugans, and then after that came Atama, But yeah, shout out to those brands. I know they work really hard for
the pioneers.
The pioneers, right? And man, I remember like there was no jiu-jitsu gis, and none of those things. No internet, no YouTube, no Instagram.
Yeah.
Imagine starting jiu-jitsu that time, like nowadays people, they have the option to start jiu-jitsu and they can make a plan like, oh, you know what, like I always start jiu-jitsu and I start advertising myself like that on social media.
Sure.
Like even a blue belt, he can cause some buzz online, and then he can start make some money. He can get a sponsor right away. People from all over the world can see what he's doing. But back in the day, you lock in your gym, just training, and you go to... The way for you to show your work was competing. That's why when I start training, I start competing like every month. Every single month, every single weekend, actually.
Yeah.
I used to compete like 4 or 5 tournaments a weekend. Sometimes I fought on Saturday in one tournament, travel, and Sunday I was in another tournament.
Wow.
It was crazy, And then Monday I was already at the gym. And I think... every time that I stop and think, I think that I was trained to do what I'm doing right now. Like all the energy that I have, I already trained that so much. I was like all day at the gym, all day training. And then like on Friday was the day that I take off to go compete. And then Saturday I was competing. And Saturday for me was a training with different people. And at the end of this training, I would win a medal, a gold medal. Or maybe double gold, because I always like to compete open class. This like was a white belt or blue belt.
What school were you at?
Careca Jiu-Jitsu, like instructor Professor Luis Carlos Aguimar.
Is in Rio?
Master Careca. No, he's from Rio, but then he moved to São Paulo, and then he started teaching us in São José dos Campos. In my neighborhood, the same neighborhood that I was living in, that was the gym.
Gotcha.
And lots of my friends were doing jiu-jitsu. All my friends, and even my oldest brother. And my oldest brother, Carlos Caissara, he's in São José dos Campos right now. He started inviting me to train, And I had like friends that train judo as well, Claudio Calazans and everyone. So we have a group of friends. Those like, if you watch those movies like back in the day, people riding bike and all that, like playing soccer on the street.
Sure.
That was my childhood, And I have a group probably of like 20 guys that live like in that neighborhood that we just play with each other and just have fun, play soccer and all that, hide and seek and all these things, like with 9, 8 years old. And those guys, they start training jiu-jitsu. That group of teenagers start training jiu-jitsu. I was like the youngest because my brother was 4 years older than me. So I was the youngest. And then I always was in the group, but I was the youngest. You know, my brother was like, let's say 14 years old. I was 10. They're all like training jiu-jitsu. I was just like, oh, I don't know. They were way bigger than me. And then, so when I started training, I fell in love. And then I started like practicing. And then what I'm saying is, when I go travel all over and then come back and teach next day, or come back same day and teach, or sometimes I travel to a seminar, arrive and then teach in the same day, I go back in the same day. I do this a lot. Like I go teach in Miami, for example. I got a red-eye fly, arrive in Miami in the morning, teach a seminar in the morning. By 3 p.m., I got my flight back to San Diego and arrive same day in San Diego.
Yeah.
And people say, why do you do that? And I say, man, I'm going there to work, right? I know it's nice to go visit places and stuff, but I'm going there to work, to do my best, 3 hours of my very best. And then after that, I wanna hang out with my family. Otherwise, I'll have no time for my family. You know? So, and then like back in the day, I was doing that. I was all day training a lot, resting on Friday, and then sometimes fighting on Saturday, resting on Friday, fighting on Saturday, and then fighting on Sunday. And I go back to jail. On Monday, I was training again, you know, and you know, like, so, and a lot of those trips were like by bus, you know, by bus. I buy a ticket. Really? Yeah, bus. No plane. Nowadays, I'm gonna fight an open plane. They go by plane, you know. But back in the day, like a big bus, like 4 or 5 hours.
Crazy,
driving.
Man.
I arrive in the same day. Sometimes I used to go to tournament in a red eye trip, right? I take a bus like 10 p.m. and then arrive in Rio by 5, 6 a.m. and then like get off the bus, take a cab driver, go straight to the tournament, get in the tournament, just warm up a little bit, like 3 hours chilling until my weight division start, and then go and fight and win, and then go back home.
So do you think that the fighters today are like spoiled because they just have so many options? It's a little bit easier for them. Like,
I think they should know the history.
Yeah.
By knowing the history, they would appreciate more every single black belt that they see.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like sometimes I feel like some kids, they have a lot of attitude, you know, and let's say if they make a little name on their like purple belt or blue belt or brown belt, they think like, you know?
Yeah.
And they look at you like, oh, you're just old. You know, like they look at you, you're an old guy. You know, I can kick your butt. You know what I mean? Like some guys are cocky like that, you know? But I think like if they know the history or what we did, we black belts, like 3, 4th degree black belts did back in the day, to be able like to take jiu-jitsu to this level, they would appreciate more. Yeah. Because they don't see, there's no documentary, let's say, because back in the day was all tapes, all like VHS, like hard access.
You know who's got all those tapes? Ricardo Amendolia.
I know.
Shout out Ricardo.
Yeah, I know.
If you want to look at jiu-jitsu history, I will bring him
here one day. Yeah.
Oh, he'd be a great interview.
Yeah, he has a lot of stuff because he started learning jiu-jitsu in the 90s, I think, in the 90s. Mm-hmm. So he knows like the guy who invented all this media and all this success in jiu-jitsu is Osvaldo Paquetá. Okay. It was a guy that has a little camera. And he goes to every single tournament and record all fights, man.
Smart.
All fights. But he record because he has so much passion. If you type on YouTube right now, like Rodrigo Minotauro versus Roleta. Mm-hmm. There was like a finals of the super heavyweight division back in 2000 or 1999. It was a crazy fight. And you see like how is the fight. I'll put the fight on the link. You guys can watch. If you see the fight, if you watch the way like he used to do things, like the camera like little shaky, you know, and then like he put the letters like running like a subtitles
titles
like,
on the bottom.
Yeah, the titles like, oh, watch right now, Roleta, next fight, blah blah blah, you know. I used to watch fights like that, you know. Oh, I want to watch again. You rewind.
Oh, it was an actual VHS tape that you had to
always, and then you need to call him. And then say, hey, Paquetá, please, I want to like awards I want awards like 1997.
No way.
It's like, okay, so you want to all fights? Yes. Okay, give me a week. I'll set up for you. I'll send to you. and then like you pay him like via bank deposit, and then you send him a fax of your bank deposit. He sees that, and then he sends you the tape after like 10 days.
That is.
And then come like a package like with all the tapes, like maybe 7 tapes of words, all the fights.
We are so spoiled now. We're so spoiled. You just go on to Flow Grappling and look up anything
just
you
go
want.
YouTube and just like Andre Galvao or whatever, Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
Or basic Jiu-Jitsu or De La Riva.
It must have been crazy to, if there was like some new guy on the scene, let's say like you, for example, who was coming onto the scene and you were doing some like new technique. Yeah. You know, you had no way to really study or prepare for that if you were the opponent. Yeah. Right? Nowadays you can find everything online. Oh, this guy's doing this position. Oh, I gotta go break it down and study it. Yeah. So when you got to the competition, it was like the Wild West, man. Like you could just some guy had a really good.
It's just his stories.
You just hear about it,
Just hear about it, or you see the guy fighting in some other small tournament, and then like you have friends that saw the guy that knows the big names of the bracket, and they like, oh, be careful, this guy do a lot of triangles, you know, or he does a triangle like this, and then you're just aware.
Wow.
But a lot of times was pretty much like you and the guy, especially for blue belt, purple belt, you wouldn't find anything, you know.
Would you go back to those times if you could?
Man,
or do you think we're in a better place, much better place now?
We are in a much better place, of course. You know, like we evolved so much, and it's way better right now, for sure, for everyone, in every single aspect. You know, look how many gi brands, even like no gi brands, and jiu-jitsu is. I say jiu-jitsu is the tail of MMA, let's say, right, or other way around. But I feel that because if the MMA grows, jiu-jitsu grows.
Sure.
And the MMA right now during the pandemic is the only sport you can watch on TV.
Yep.
And then you see guys grappling, and they always talk about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. They always talk about Jiu-Jitsu. They always throw like, oh, this guy is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. People know, you know. People like, even if you never see Jiu-Jitsu, you know the word, you know what is, you know. And we are in such a great position, and I think it's just the beginning, to be honest, because the fighters still needs to work to make money.
Sure.
For example, like right now there are like fighters that they don't need to open a school if they want. They just live from teaching like instructionals. They make good money with instructionals if they have a good reputation, you know, good technique, good image, you know. They still need to work. It's still like you gotta work. It's not only from your fights. There's no tournament that pay you $1 million. There's no tournament that pay. You know what I mean? Like soccer players, they don't teach soccer. They just play soccer. Yeah. Surfers, they don't teach surfer. They don't teach surfing. Right. They just surf.
But the funny thing is that jiu-jitsu fighters train just as hard, maybe even harder than these guys.
Yeah. I feel like I deserve to make a good amount of money because the effort that I put for the sport. Sure. I know my value. I know that I work probably even more than a professional athlete. Even more. Yeah. You can say, oh no, but those guys are but they have everything. They have the doctors, they have the physical therapists, they have everything. Think about an NBA player, for example. Sure. He just show up in the venue. There's a guy that's prepared a uniform for them and everything. It's so easy.
And he's not going home after that and then teaching at the local basketball school down the road.
Or even make his own food for, you know, something like that, you know.
But do you think jiu-jitsu will get to that point?
Of course.
You think so?
Because, man, if I go back and look to the 1990s where we have all this VHS tapes or the one guy only recording the fight, you know, man, if Paquetá didn't exist, probably this guy that used to record, like he died a few years ago, you know. But man, if this guy didn't exist, we wouldn't have a history in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, we owe that guy a lot.
We wouldn't have history in jiu-jitsu, man. Seriously. And he made the history. And then even back in the day, we felt like when you see someone famous in jiu-jitsu, it was because Paquetá recorded that guy and you watch that guy in your TV at home, and then you see that guy live and you're just like, man, I want to take a picture of that guy, you know, and then you go there and just take a picture. So I think in jiu-jitsu has more that than judo, than any other grappling fight because of this guy, you know.
That's awesome.
And man, like I feel like we can go to the next level for sure.
Well, I think the problem is I don't know if jiu-jitsu will ever be a spectator sport. Like right now, I think the growth of jiu-jitsu has to do with the amount of people that are doing jiu-jitsu.
I think the no-gi, man.
You think it could?
The no-gi. Probably the gi needs to, it helps a lot, but the no-gi, it grew way more than gi, I think.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's more dynamic, the fights. It's easier for people to understand.
Definitely.
You know?
There's more scrambles, there's more wrestling.
There's more submission too.
Why? More submissions.
Because there's heel hooks.
Yeah.
There's no heel hooks on or knee bars for lower belts in the gi. So that makes the fight a little bit more like, you know, you know, imagine like you're a blue belt, you're going to fight, you don't think too much from the waist below.
Yeah.
There's only the straight ankle lock.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You cannot do knee bar, you cannot rip the knee, you cannot do anything.
Yeah.
So that kind of like slow down a little bit the submissions in the sport. Of course, it's for the safety, right, of kids and people that are coming up. But the no-gi is pretty much like the MMA of grappling. Like you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You can like even like some slams, some tournaments they allow slams.
Yeah.
So I think
you know that
a lot.
You know that organization 1FC.
Yeah.
You know how they like keep the individual martial arts like separated? Like they have MMA fights, but they also have like Muay Thai fights, or kickboxing, right? They should have submission grappling fights. I think that would do a lot to
actually
help.
They contact me and ask like they would like to make my fight with Gordon there.
Oh, really?
They asked me like
a submission grappling fight.
They just ask, and then we just talk and they never answer.
Wow.
They talk with my manager.
Think about that.
Former
That would,
MMA.
I think that would maybe propel the sport to the next. Because that would just expose it to so many more people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Martial arts fans.
Yeah.
1FC is pretty cool. You know,
they
really love the martial arts.
Yeah. They do.
And you can see
in Asia they understand more like grappling and jiu-jitsu and all that, you know.
Yeah, it's
not that here like people don't understand, but I feel like here people love the striking more.
Yes.
It's more exciting to watch like striking.
Yeah.
You know, but jiu-jitsu is exciting. And I think society will start to understand more and more and more and more what is jiu-jitsu, you know? Like it's crazy like how many kids are training jiu-jitsu.
That's the thing. I think if more people continue to train, right, and start training, I think that's the main growth of the sport of jiu-jitsu. But then we can add in some of that spectator to it as well. I think you're right. Maybe we could get to a level where you know you are paid like a professional athlete to do jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, right now, for example, there are people that watch college wrestling, but they never done college.
True.
They never done wrestling. Actually,
that's true.
They never done wrestling,
Yep.
right? They
It's
just
in the
a fan.
Olympics.
They're just a fan, right? In jiu-jitsu, we already have people like that. And sometimes I'm like at the airport. Sometimes I'm walking around like on grocery stores and Andre Galvao, you know. And then I'm like, oh, this guy trains somewhere, you know. And then we take a picture and all that. And I'm like, where are you training? He's like, no, I don't train.
Really?
I just follow you.
Really?
Yeah, a couple times happened. Yeah.
Wow, that's
of course,
something.
like maybe 2 out of 10 people that ask me for a picture, they
don't train.
They don't train. Yeah.
So that is saying something. That means that jiu-jitsu has transcended the world of just people who
or they have people that train jiu-jitsu. They know they go to watch and they just like you know they appreciate and then they start following you.
Well, I think Joe Rogan, man. I think Joe Rogan is the guy who put jiu-jitsu.
I'll bring Joe Rogan here.
You are the new Joe Rogan.
Oh, man, Joe Rogan's the next level.
He's the one.
I'm a white belt, man.
At podcasting?
Podcast white belt.
You should be on his show, man.
Joe Rogan.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, that would be crazy. That would be amazing.
But that's the reason why
Shout out Joe Rogan.
Shout out Joe Rogan.
He followed me on Instagram.
That's the first step.
He follow many fighters on Instagram. He loves jiu-jitsu. He loves martial arts.
He's the biggest advocate for jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, he is. For sure. Like he's putting jiu-jitsu out there. Because he talks about jiu-jitsu with his guys that never trained jiu-jitsu before.
Exactly.
You know? So for sure, he's such an influencer.
It's amazing how all the people who come on his show, everyone says the same thing. Like jiu-jitsu, it doesn't matter what like part of life you're from. He'll have someone like Sam Harris on there who's like this philosophical, really smart, like deep thinker type guy.
Yeah.
And Sam Harris talks about how awesome jiu-jitsu is.
Crazy,
the
right?
benefits of jiu-jitsu, how it changes life, So I think if we spread that more, how the benefits of jiu-jitsu, it's just not just a cool sport, but it can really change your life.
Yeah, man. Like Professor Master Helio Gracie knew it. He knew it. He knew he had such amazing tool in his hands. He knew it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Gracie family too, because he's a pioneer of the family being well known, right? Of course, it started his, I think his brother, right, Carlos Gracie.
Yep.
Start first, and then you came like all the history of the family, right? But he knew the power of jiu-jitsu, like it makes you think differently. It makes you think different. A lot of people they okay, you can surf, you can skydiving, you can like do any other sport. But when you do jiu-jitsu, it's different because you're not by yourself. That's the first thing.
True.
You need an individual. Like you need someone to practice jiu-jitsu, to practice your techniques.
Yeah.
You need someone. And the environment that you build, the relationship that you build on the mat is priceless.
I call that the hidden benefit of jiu-jitsu. That's the one thing where you don't think like coming into, when you sign up for a jiu-jitsu class, you don't say, oh, I'm gonna make this awesome network. You think I'm gonna learn a badass martial art.
Yeah.
The hidden benefit of jiu-jitsu is that you create these relationships with everyone on the mat. They become your brothers. They're your family.
Yeah. Because it's so close. It gets so close. And of course, the Brazilian culture inside jiu-jitsu, within jiu-jitsu, helps a lot.
I would agree, yeah.
Because Brazil is all about hugging and kissing. If you see the old school guys, they kiss each other.
Yeah, very warm and friendly.
Yeah, I saw Alan Góes, Professor Alan Góes. He's like, if you don't know Alan Góes, just put like Alan Góes, MMA or Alan Góes Pride. He's like, back in the day, he was a monster in jiu-jitsu. Like he was that guy that helped to build the path for us, right? He paved the path for all us, especially for my generation. He's before my generation. Carson Gracie school, and I saw him. He came, he's like, he kissed me, like they kiss you.
Yeah.
And it's different.
It's very friendly. It's like anytime
yeah.
you like, when I come back to Atos, and I see like Lucas Barbosa, I see you, it's like, hey brother, how are you, man? You guys come give me a big hug, and that's the Brazilian culture.
Yeah.
And that's like, I'd say, yeah, you're right. So that's
another mix.
It's a mix. It's that warm friendliness, right?
Yeah.
Also adds to like the brotherhood that you create from jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. I think you cannot have closed mind, and then I put this in a different, now we can talk about this, like when the media start talking about the American Jiu-Jitsu or the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I think it's a mix, because when we started the podcast, you said, man, like there wasn't much organization.
Yeah.
Because to be honest, in Brazil, the culture is not very organized. We just go with the flow. We have this type of lifestyle. We wake up, we just go with the flow, man.
Right.
Like the Americans, they have like the plans, what they're gonna do.
Yes.
Like it works really well. That's great. But you need to have a balance. You need to find that balance. And jiu-jitsu, if you're American, like helps you to find that balance. And if you're Brazilian, helps you to find that balance to be more organized too with your things. So I think like the culture in the United States, it's really good, in terms of organization. But in Brazil, it's the other way around, right? But the culture in Brazil in terms of relationship, it's great too.
Yeah.
Then you mix both, like the culture of that relationship, that camaraderie, where you shake the hand, you fist and bump, like you go, like, bah, go, and you hug, you kiss. You get closer, you just joke around, you give nicknames, like all these things, like you break the ice, otherwise you're just like doing just one thing,
So what should we call it? Should we call it mixed jiu-jitsu arts?
Man, like
MJ,
I think
MJJ.
No, I think like jiu-jitsu is jiu-jitsu, because in Brazil, when we train, we just say, oh, I do jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And actually, the Americans gave the name Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Right.
Because in America, you give a name for everything.
Yeah.
You know, and you guys are great, or
I think Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu sounds cool.
We are great on giving names, right? Like when in the techniques, for example, how would call this? You know?
Yeah.
But imagine like people are here, and I talk about this on the podcast with my wife, but it was in Portuguese, right? And I talk about the history, right? The Gracie family came here in 1980s or early or late 1970s.
Uh-huh.
And they brought jiu-jitsu to United States. They start challenging everyone, and they start like participating off like sambo tournaments and judo tournaments, you know, and they started beating up people, like submitting them, putting them unconscious, or challenging like people from different martial arts, and they say, okay, do whatever you want, and they just hug the guy and mount on the guy, and they just like slap their face, you know, just play around with the guy. They're just like, wow, what is that, you know? And then people started to recognize like the jiu-jitsu with the Brazilian crew. Oh, there's a bunch of Brazilians that's doing this art called jiu-jitsu. It's like Brazilian jiu-jitsu, you know? You know, like that's where it came. And also the trademark, you know, because it used to be Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, and then the family, they still have like one side of the family that use the name Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah. And the other side of the family wants to spread jiu-jitsu to all over the world. They're like, okay, we're going to call Brazilian jiu-jitsu like the way they're calling here, you know? They're calling us Brazilians, like that jiu-jitsu, because the jiu-jitsu from Japan is different than the jiu-jitsu that we do, you know? And jiu-jitsu and the jiu-jitsu that went to Brazil, right? The jiu-jitsu went to Brazil, and then it mixed everything. And then we kind of like, jiu-jitsu is like an open mind sport where you can put any grappling art within.
Right.
Like you can do judo in jiu-jitsu. You can do sambo in jiu-jitsu. You can do
catch wrestling.
You can do anything in jiu-jitsu. Like the things that works in catch wrestling, you can apply in jiu-jitsu. Yes. You know? So jiu-jitsu is such a great sport because it's very clear that the fight is just one piece. There's not like only stand up or only guard or only ground, or you have a certain amount of time to be on top of the guy. There's nothing like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's a one piece, you know, like I was watching judo awards with my wife and my daughter. And then I saw like every time the guy goes to the floor, like they turn their back and they just like, you know,
they give
and the guy put both hooks in, the guy just there, and then, okay, mate, stop, and then stand up.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, I looked to my wife and said, man, for us, having someone in our back is a nightmare.
Yeah.
But for them, is the greatest thing that can happen, you know? But for us, it's a nightmare.
It's like they just have to wait. That's like the end of the fight for them. For us, the fight just started.
Yeah, but imagine if you're on the street, like you try a takedown, you miss, and then you just like boom, put your belly down and stay there. Yeah, you're on bottom. Like it's not work as a self defense, you know.
Yeah.
So jiu-jitsu is definitely, like, in my opinion, the greatest art. You know.
Oh, it's the best, man.
It's the best. Like people can say, like, with all respect to all the arts, they have all their qualities. Yeah. I did judo. You know, I love wrestling too.
Yeah.
You know, but man,
you know what I've been watching? Cobra Kai.
Yeah, Cobra Kai. I watch a little bit. They talk about jiu-jitsu a little bit.
It's
there,
fun to watch Cobra Kai, but you're like, man, this is just such bullshit. Like, this would never work,
man. But thanks to Royce Gracie.
Yeah.
Thanks to the Gracie family, Rorion Gracie, the guys who created UFC, to show the power of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
that was the goal.
Yeah.
And they did it.
Yeah.
They did it.
They were pioneers. So I was having this conversation with somebody, a good buddy the other day, about like pioneers, people who really changed jiu-jitsu, right? And I was thinking, you know, obviously the Gracies, but I was thinking, how do you think Atos changed jiu-jitsu?
Man, Atos, it made jiu-jitsu, like, because since we start having like the team in 2008, we came up with this idea of making something that would be different, you know. And I remember, like, in the first year, like, competing was in 2009. We started Atos in 2008, end of 2008, and we started competing in 2009. We came at Worlds 2009. It was a bunch of guys, like, wearing like an ugly patch.
Yeah.
The first logo of Atos was terrible.
Yeah.
And we make so much noise. And people like, who's those guys? You know, where they came from? You know, Atos. You know, what is that? And we always had the open mind to develop the techniques, you know, and make the technique better, you know. And we found that, you know, Atos like started developing a lot of like new things for the modern jiu-jitsu, you know. Even some people criticize the 50-50, for example. It wasn't a strategy for the new black belts to overcome an older black belt, you know. It was a strategy to work with the rules, you know. It's kind of like, oh, boring, whatever. Or the double pull thing, you know, and all that. And people like, oh, this like is messing up the sport and all that, the berimbolo and stuff. Of course, like shout out to Guy and Rafa Mendes, because Rafa actually has a special jiu-jitsu and he started developing a lot of techniques there. But his professor, Ramon Lemos, the co-founder of Atos, man, Ramon has such a vision of the fight, you know, and he's so creative. Yeah. And we start studying training and all that, and then we are all open. Like and I have always this mindset of training a lot to become like well-rounded fighter. Like you got to improve in every single aspect of fight, you know. And then we mix it up, everything, the mindset of Ramon Lemos with the technique and all that, you know, and all my techniques too, but also like the mindset of being a well-rounded fighter. I always like to play everything: judo, jiu-jitsu, takedowns, bottom, top, you know, since I start training. So, and then we start like applying that in our team, you know, and then our athletes, and then we see like you watch like Gilbert Burns, you know, Guilherme Rafael, and then you watch like Caporal, you know, which is a tough fighter as well. Frazato, Calazans, all these guys, Guto Campos, man, it was amazing, you know. Yeah. And definitely like the team helped to change the game, you know, change the game. We innovate a lot. And even the rules were changing a lot. They changed a lot of the rules like in the last decade. Like because we came up always with something, you know, we're remember like when we create like a type of technique where you torque the knee of your opponent without ripping the knee. Yeah. And they banned that, you know. They started like banning they started like kind of like trimming and making sure that jiu-jitsu were safe, you know, because we start like developing stuff, you know. And it's all about the strategy. You know, it doesn't matter. If there's a rule, there's a strategy, you know. If there's a rule, there's a strategy, and of course the goal of the fight is always go for the submission. You know, that's the goal. That's the goal that I always when I train, I like to train like that. My mindset is to go for the submission. We have amazing grapplers, amazing fighters, and Atos is so open mind that we became great. We became a great team where we have a lot of athletes. We have a lot of athletes, gi and no-gi. Yeah. And usually our athletes that good gi, both, they're also good no-gi.
That's what you were saying earlier. You guys are good at everything. Takedowns, guard, top, gi, no-gi. Yeah. When I hear the term modern jiu-jitsu, that I think of Atos. Yeah. You know? Definitely. I think that's like their contribution was like really modernizing modern techniques, but it has to also has to go with this open-mindedness. Yeah. You know, you guys you're not like married to, all right, this is our style. If something new's coming, you're gonna take it in. You're gonna adopt it. Yeah. You know?
And the way I teach too, I teach like that. Like I feel that. Like one time I was discussing with a guy, and the guy like, oh, your students, they all have different game. You know, and kind of like, oh, your students came from all over. That's why they have different game. They don't have one solid game. I say no, because I'm open mind, man. I sharp your game according to your body type. Yeah. I cannot like. Look, you're tall, right? You're like 6'3", and I'm like 5'10". My jiu-jitsu is different than yours.
I don't berimbolo.
Yeah, exactly. But you have a great triangle. Yeah. You know, like for me to set up a triangle is a little bit harder. You know, so I need to work on the techniques that will be good for you. Otherwise, I'll think just about me. Imagine if I go there and just teach the things that I do only the things that works for my body type.
And how would you guys continue to win if everybody that you're training with has the same exact game? You're never gonna.
Yeah, you're not gonna have variety.
Variation.
Yeah, you know, you gotta have like, you know, you gotta have everything, because also it's not only the body type but also the conditioning of the athlete. You know, some guys are more they're more like explosive than others. Some guys, they don't have explosion.
Of course.
You know, some guys are more resistance. Some guys are strong. Some guys, they're not strong, but they're really flexible. You know, so you gotta like adapt a game and a training for everyone.
Yeah.
You know, you have the small guy, the big guy. It's working. The way that I'm working here, it's working and helping all these guys to become great, and they have their own style.
Absolutely.
You know, I help people to find their own style.
Yeah.
I help them because I believe you're born with jiu-jitsu. I believe everyone is born with jiu-jitsu within. You just don't sharp that. You have that within.
Yeah.
Because, like, if somebody threat you and try to jump on you and try to fight you, you're gonna do a jiu-jitsu. You're gonna grapple them.
Yes.
Even though you think about punching, kicking, the fighter gets so close that they're gonna start scramble with you. So you gotta find a way to survive. You're gonna try to hug them by the neck. You're gonna try to, if you don't know jiu-jitsu, right? You're gonna try to do like a headlock or a guillotine if you watch UFC. You know? So, and UFC is helping people to understand that, to know like what is the fight. You know, what is a fight?
Yeah.
When they're in battle, I gotta keep between my legs.
Yes.
You know, things
and
like
what
that.
Works. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think like I always believe that people, they're born with jiu-jitsu within. You just gotta sharp that. You just gotta help them to find that.
Yeah, it's innate. It's definitely something like, you know, you watch little kids, they grapple, or you watch dogs, or you watch animals. Like it's within us, like wrestling and grappling.
Yeah. So we all different. So we all have different jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
You know, even though like we can drill and repeat the same technique, but maybe you're gonna do a little bit different than the way that I do. I'm not gonna say you're wrong, you know.
Yeah.
If that's work for you, I'm gonna say no. Do my way only. Don't do that way.
See, that's why you stop growing, right? When you have that closed-mindedness. That's why you guys, I think, have had such great success.
Yeah, the goal is to evolve, man. Imagine like if I always keep my classes one class, like you mentioned before.
Yeah.
If I never separate the classes, you know. Imagine. And I think.
Talk about the evolution of Atos. I think that was another really like good quality, was that we had, once Atos really started taking off, right? And you guys are winning more and more. It attracted all these different types of games, all these different people to want to train here, right? Yeah. And then that elevated it even more. Yeah. So that's like, talk about the hidden benefit is like this network. So like Don Bell, great instructor, right? Yeah. He has a very specific style of jiu-jitsu. Michael Liera Jr., you know, you're learning from all these different guys, JT Torres, right? And they're all bringing their own little thing. Yeah. And so that was, I think, a really cool aspect of the evolution of Atos.
Yeah, because, man, the type of leader that I am, I show by example. You know, I always do things by example. People who see that, they'll kind of like you gain respect, you know. Not that you force people to respect you, you know. So it's just like I always do my best to show as an example. Of course, I'm human. I make mistakes, you know. It's part of the process to learn from your mistakes. Yeah. And always I do my best to recognize my mistakes, and I understand the communication is everything in everything we do. And I always talk with my athletes, and I always talk with my students too. Even like the regular classes, when I finish the class, I give a message to people. You know, I like to do that, and I believe that goes beyond the training, right? And I encourage people to teach me. You know, because think with me, like I'm a teacher, but also I'm a student. I put myself in both situations, you know. And I never close my mind to learn from my students. I always learn from them. I always do that. And I love when they ask questions, you know, and they give me suggestions from things. Yeah. Because I learn, you know. And if I had a closed mind, I would never like allow people to be themselves, you know. Even like, for example, there are some places they build a culture where, let's say, if there's the leader that has a lot of tattoos, all the students has a lot of tattoos. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, or if there's a leader that has like one type of hair, all of the people have their type of hair. Yes. You know? So like for me, it doesn't work like that. You know, for me, like you gotta be yourself. Yes. And I allow my people, my students, to be themselves.
Your hair looks great, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just trying to change this style. I'm not like telling them that they need to have this style here,
Yeah, no.
But like some people, they shave their head. Some people like they have their beard, So
you allow
and I have a type of personality where like I believe that we're all different,
Yeah.
And you don't need to be exactly the same.
So before the show,
but the standards, the character you gotta have,
right?
The character, the like helping people, that's the most valuable for me. It's not like the outside, or the way people teach,
Right.
So I always talk. I have meetings with people that teach at my academy, and I tell them the way that I want them to teach, but I don't cut off like the methodology that they use that is working, So if I see their classes, I see the way they teach, and I just like I give my suggestion. Hey, I think you should like add this.
Gotcha.
Or you forgot to mention this,
right?
But you're doing amazing. Keep doing that.
Right.
And then they start like understanding. Like for example, they start teaching the kids program for a while,
mm-hmm.
and when we talk, we always talk about like how we handle the system, how we're doing, and he tell me the things that he's doing. Sometimes I participate of the classes as well. I teach that way he can see the way I teach, and then man, it's being very successful. Probably one of the best kids program that we have. Like I start with Ricky Briseno teaching the little kids, and now like I see like, man, he's doing an amazing job. But when he started, he was like, oh, Professor, I don't think I can handle it. I said, man, do like this, study this, show this type of techniques to those kids, and I believe like you're gonna do well. Man, right now you watch his class, it's a different person.
Yeah.
People like, man, I didn't know Ricky Briseno was like that.
Huh.
He's such a leader right now, So I think it's...
But that comes from the top. That comes from you.
Yeah, exactly. But it's also encouraging, So I think it's important to think about the overall results.
Yeah.
Overall results.
So I wanted to ask you. So before the show, I asked you how did your game evolve?
He's interviewing me. Right? It's nice.
No, but so that's like you asked me how did Atos evolve?
Yeah.
In 2011, you won the weight and absolute, right?
Yeah,
and I was saying it's kind of a bummer that it's phenomenal that you had all these super fights, but we never got to see you back in the tournament again.
Yeah.
How do you think? And you said you think you're a much better fighter now than you were in 2011.
Way more.
How so?
Man, even though I get older, but I feel like my techniques are better. The knowledge is better. The knowledge of training is better too. Like the mindset, I start like knowing more and more and more about myself. And it's not easy to fight the super fight. A lot of people, super fight, man, a lot of people. And I feel like my opponents, all of them, I felt that they had some type of pressure on their back, and I never felt that. But I think like throughout the years, that helped me a lot, like the experience that I gained.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is ADCC, but overall, like IBJJF and all that, to be honest, like thankfully, I have such an energy, and I'm pretty open to learn new things. I evolve with this sport.
Yeah.
As an athlete, as a coach, as a leader, you gotta evolve. You gotta keep growing. And you gotta cut off the bad things, the bad habits, and that's the hardest part for a lot of people, because they have bad habits. They don't recognize those bad habits, and they keep like.
Do you mean bad habits like in jiu-jitsu bad habits?
Everything. General. Bad habits as a leader, bad habits as an athlete, bad habit as a coach, bad habit as a... And how you find those bad habits, like gain knowledge. How you gain knowledge?
Yeah.
You study. You read, you study, and you learn more about yourself. Like you start learning more about yourself.
That is interesting that you said that you learned, you understood yourself better.
Yeah.
And I think that's an interesting like concept that people don't think. Like if they want to get better at jiu-jitsu, I need to train harder, get better technique. How about learning yourself better? How you react in situations?
Because at the end of the day, it's like recognize your mistakes and fix that. The fight is the same thing. What is the area in the fight that I'm super weak? That I'm very like, I hate when people get there.
Yeah.
You know? Oh, I don't like when people play spider guard on me.
Yeah.
I remember I had that. Like I used to like not like it.
I hated the lasso. Yeah.
Exactly. What I did, okay, put the lasso here. Let's go.
Just do it.
You know, let's study. Lasso, escapes, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Ask questions and see others doing, and then you start learning, you know. So not only that, but in the aspect of the personal aspect as well. As a father, as a husband, you know. I always think that it's jiu-jitsu is just like a little piece, you know.
Yeah.
It's a little piece of like of what I do, you know, in life. It's just a little piece.
Gotcha.
Because I have so much that has like a lot of value in my life too, that I can put it like first.
But you take those principles that you learn in jiu-jitsu and then you apply them to the other parts of your life.
Of course. Jiu-jitsu is a real fight, you know. It doesn't lie to you. Jiu-jitsu doesn't lie to you.
Yes.
Jiu-jitsu doesn't tell you, give your back and you'll be fine.
Right.
You know, like the other sports, like the other grappling sports.
Yeah.
Like even wrestling, I love wrestling, but you fight wrestling, oh, the guy cannot pin me, so you just like turn your back. Don't let the pin touch the floor, you know.
Yeah.
And jiu-jitsu, if your back is on the floor, you should be comfortable.
Yes.
You know.
Yep.
So in life is the same way. I feel that you gotta always face the problem. You gotta always like keep like aiming and looking for submission, you know, to finalize your task, your things, you know. The art teaches a lot because it's very, very real. It's very, jiu-jitsu is very real.
Yeah.
If you make one mistake, that mistake can cause you a loss, you know what I
Right.
mean? And a loss of opportunity, you know, but you always can tap to recognize your mistake and reset and start again.
Right.
You know? But when it comes to like war titles and all that, like sometimes one little mistake can cause you a war title, for example. You know? But in training, like you make a mistake, you can always like go back and fix right away, you know? So I think like the evolution of Andre Galvao is that, you know, when I moved to the United States, my English was like really bad. You know, I had the Brazilian mindset. I didn't have the American culture. I didn't come with the American culture in my mind, you know. Now I learn a lot about the American culture, you know. I'm sitting, I dominate the language right now, you know, and I can speak about anything. The books that I read is only in English. I read only in English. I don't read in Portuguese, no.
Wow.
And actually, I don't like to read in Portuguese.
Why?
It feels like, I don't know. It feels like I'm not learning. You know, because just for the fact that I'm reading English,
I see.
I'm learning.
It's like an effort you're putting in.
Yeah, I'm learning,
effort,
you know. So I love learning, man.
Yeah.
And I think you can never stop learning.
How did you learn English? Just curious. Because I want to learn Portuguese.
Talking.
But Duolingo is like, doesn't work.
Talking and sometimes Facebook remind me from old posts, right? And I look for the things that I wrote like 10 years ago. I'm so ashamed. Like I'm like, oh no. I see all the mistakes, you know, like the grammar's mistake. The grammatic.
But I mean,
I was just like, oh no, man, it's okay. But nobody's perfect. But I was at least like expressing myself.
Yeah. You
know, and a lot of people, they just for the fact that they don't speak the language, they very shy. They don't speak.
I think that holds a lot of people back.
Yeah.
Who aren't willing to put the time in to learn English. You know, they could have amazing careers in jiu-jitsu, but they just aren't learning English.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I feel like you need to do that. You need to do interviews. You need to connect with the fans.
Of course.
You need to make instructional videos and content.
You gotta speak English, man.
That's
yeah, he's gotta speak English because it's a universal language. Let's say.
Yeah.
Right? And you gotta learn.
I feel like if I learned Portuguese, it would help me in my job too.
Yeah.
You know?
And also, when you learn Portuguese, it helps you to understand a little bit more, like because sometimes the problem can be the culture, you know, like melting. And some people, they're such a closed mind that they kind of like, I don't like the Brazilian culture, let's say, you know, or the Brazilian, I don't like the American culture, you know. So I think you just like need to speak the language to understand, have a communication. But everybody has feelings. Everybody has emotions. We're like emotion beings, you know. Like,
of course,
we always needs to express. And people lack on the way they express themselves, and sometimes it's hard. But yeah, man. So I think that's how we evolve in life. You know, I always like to grow. When you say, oh, you know, I remember when you win like a prize, you just like put into the gym. I made like $50,000 ADCC. I broke all the gym. And I remember my accountant like, man, this money is yours. Yeah. Use the money to your personal life. Don't use your money to your business. I'm like, but the business is me too. You know, the business is mine. Right. The business is ours. You know, if I just invest in me, like, I'm not going to think about all these people that are coming from far away to just train with me. You know, let me do it, you know? Right. And then I did. And then he's just like, you don't listen. Yeah. Huh. Yeah. If I listen,
but look where it got you today.
Yeah. Like if you listen all the time what people tell you to do, sometimes like you have the guts, you know, like the other, like, you know, in Chinese culture, like you say is your second brain, the guts. Because you have the feeling here. Yeah. The butterflies, you know? Yeah. Like, you have the guts, like when you have the confidence to win, or you have the guts when you believe like something is gonna work. You know, is your second brain that's working? It's not this brain here. Because if you let this work too much, you're not gonna do things in your life. Yeah. You just like be too reasonable. Yeah. Oh, maybe like it's a risk, or maybe I can lose if I try this. Man, you gotta go like the guts needs to be beyond, you know, like sometimes you put your guts first, especially when you want to take a risk and you want to like make things work, you know, make things work. Let's say if you want to give life to something, and how you can give life to something, you can start a business right now and the business has their own life, and then you just like give life to that business, like by your guts, like by believing like that thing that you're doing, it's gonna grow, it's gonna work, you know. And later on, you're gonna receive things back for benefit because you create that. Sure. And this goes to my beliefs. The Creator created us, and He created us to give Him like to communicate with Him. You know. So by creating us and making us something that has life, His appreciation of seeing us feeds Him, you know. Gotcha. So your appreciation of seeing your business growing feeds you, you know. Even like if you don't make so much money from that, you know, you feel like, oh, I did it. I get it. Yeah. You know?
It's like a cycle. Like you put into it, it gives back to you, and you keep putting into it, it gives back to you.
I love talk about this. But we gotta stop right now. We gotta finish this podcast. It was amazing. We can talk more later. Yeah. I have lots of meetings today.
Of course, man.
I'm a busy man.
Yeah.
But thank you so much, man. Like it was amazing, man. It's great to talk with people, right? I know you for a while. Yep. I see you growing. And man, you doing amazing, and I wish you the best. Okay, wish you
as well, man. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This was awesome.
Podcast over.